Hey guys, my name is Savannah and today we are back in Jurassic World Evolution 2 in our California Sandbox Park. So this is the California Yosemite Park, obviously in Sandbox mode. Episode 5 I think we're on now, and it's taken me a while. I apologize, but I found some time to jump back into Jurassic World Evolution 2 recently, and today, as you might have guessed by the thumbnail, we are adding a whole bunch of dinosaurs. So actually dinosaurs and prehistoric animals, excuse me, because we are adding an aviary surrounded by a lagoon. So that's what we're starting off here with, is kind of just getting the main layout of everything figured out, where the aviary is going to kind of be nestled into the middle of the lagoon there. I do keep the lagoon that size. I thought I might have added a couple more circles on the other side, but I do keep it kind of the skinny, kind of circular, half circle shape it is there. And yeah, I'm very, very happy with how this kind of fits into our park so far. So inside the aviary, I throw some Barbaridactylus in there because those are the newest flyers that came with the late Cretaceous pack. And then I threw a Quetzal in there as well, just to I don't know, give a little bit of variety. My thought was one Quetzalcoatlus would look really good in there. It's a smaller aviary and the Quetzals are really, really big. So I didn't want to throw a whole bunch of them in there because I personally think that the Quetzals look a little bit too big for the size aviary we have currently anyway. Like if they're just in there on their own, I think that they look a little bit large for what we have, but one of them I felt like would just give a little bit more variety to it. And then in the lagoon, I throw a whole bunch of stuff, mainly the Styxosaurus, because that is again the newest animal that came with the late Cretaceous pack, but I didn't want it to be alone, so I know I threw some Ichthyosauruses in there, but I can't remember if I put like a Plessy or two as well. So we might have to wait and see on that one, because now I'm totally blanking on which animals I actually put in the lagoon, but we'll see. My main point though is that there's a couple different animals swimming around in the lagoon to kind of give it, again, some variety. I tried to play around with the underwater decorations and things that we got, but unfortunately I found it a bit difficult, well, really difficult really, to decorate underneath the lagoon because of the kind of camera angles it forces you to be at. So I really only focused some of the decoration around the viewing areas, because I figured, I mean, to be honest, nobody's really going to be walking around the entire lagoon and be able to get a good sight of all of it. So I kind of just focused it around the drop viewing centers, because in my mind, that's obviously going to be what people are going to be able to see. And so just throwing a couple of those things out there in the lagoon to give it a little bit of decoration. I honestly wish we got some more height in the decoration that we got with the lagoon stuff. Just to add a little bit more height variation in our lagoons, I think would go a long way. Everything that we got looks really small, in my opinion, comparative to the lagoons. Even if you have just one circle in a lagoon, you have to place quite a few little decorative objects for it to really kind of make an impact on your lagoon. So in the future, I do hope to see some bigger decorations, like maybe some really tall kelp or other plants and things like that. I mean, if you guys know me, if you're not new to the channel, you know how much I love foliage and rocks and things like that. So just give me all of that, all of the different options for foliage and rocks and all the pretty things. I want all the pretty things to make my habitats very, very pretty. So yeah, so that's a little bit about the lagoon. We'll go ahead and talk about what we're actually doing right now, in that around the front of the aviary and the lagoon viewing centers, I made sure to add lots and lots of seating. When I'm zoomed out and working on this park, I often forget how far these paths actually go and how far people do actually have to walk, because enclosures are very large. The animals that are in there, the dinosaurs that are in there, are really, really large. So it's a lot of walking for the guests, a lot of walking. So I made sure to add lots of tables and chairs and things. I really wish we had benches, and I'm gonna try really hard not to make this entire video things that I wish we had, but jumping back into the game, it's just fresh in my mind, so that's kind of what I was thinking about. The idea here with this habitat is that it was going to be kind of a smaller, maybe side habitat like compies or something like that. I ended up not really liking it, and I do get rid of it, so you can kind of ignore it for now, but I didn't want to leave it in there. I do like to leave most of my process in all of my videos, just in case something inspires you to build something in your own parks. Even if I didn't like it in my park, it could be inspirational for somebody like you guys that are watching. So I make sure to leave those in. But I just wanted to kind of frame a lot of the paths here with the decorations that we do have. But like I was mentioning, my getting back into the game and really trying to decorate things for this park has just kind of brought it fresh in my mind of the wish list items that I do have for decor and things like that in Jurassic World Evolution 2, because I think that the things that they've added are a fantastic step far and above Jurassic World Evolution, the first one. Obviously we have a lot more customization and things like that, but it leaves me wanting more because they're so fantastic, like the extra foliage pieces and the planters and the decor items. It just leaves me wanting like primarily more smaller fences. Like I would love to have smaller decorative fence options, either in the form of like a barrier or in the form of like a decorative object. Like you see, I've placed like the concrete barriers kind of along the path edge right there. So either or, I mean, it doesn't really matter, just something that can kind of decorate paths so that they're not just long open paths with nothing on either side, or it doesn't take forever to line up your paths with the little individual decor pieces that we have right now. And then the other thing that I would love is more trees and things, of course, as always. I found myself really struggling to keep things from being repetitive, kind of moving trees around, changing their angles or their rotation and changing between different styles, just to try to make sure it doesn't look too copy and pasted as you're kind of looking around the park. I feel like there's a lot of water features that are available in the game, and there's nothing wrong with that, but just a little more variety, like different dinosaur statues or different flyer statues, kind of like we have the Spinosaurus like skeleton figure. I would love to see other species in that kind of style as well. Would be absolutely fantastic, I think, to just, again, make sure that your park doesn't look too repetitive, that you can kind of specialize your decoration to each individual habitat that you are including, things like that. So hopefully in the future, we're coming up on the end of the year, so I'm hoping and crossing my fingers for an end of the year holiday release DLC for Jurassic World Evolution 2. I have no idea what they might give us, but I am very hopeful that we might get something. So keep your eyes out for that, and let me know down below in the comment section if you have any idea on what we might be seeing or what your wish list items are, because I would love to hear what you guys are waiting to see. Just adding more benches and things here. The most recent addition to the game for the 1-year anniversary was, of course, the zip lines. I actually finished this build before that released, so we didn't actually add any zip lines in this build today, but we will be adding them in the future because I think they are a wonderful addition to the game. I talked a little bit about it in the Zipline video that I put out the day that they released, but it just adds more height variant and it's another attraction. I feel like the community for Jurassic World Evolution 2 has been asking for more attractions forever. So it's very exciting that they actually added a new attraction. It's not the only attraction I would like to see, but at least it's something, and it was a free something. So if you updated your game, you got the zip line in your game already. There's a couple tweaks that I would have liked to see made where like zip lines can't cross over each other, even if the height makes sense where one is going well over the top of the other one. But that's okay. You know, you can work around it. It's still again, a height variant for your park. I still would love to see something like a boat ride or something like that, something water related for your parks that you could add. But I will be adding the zipline hopefully in the next episode of this park in a couple different places, because I want the guests to be able to get a cool view over the top of some habitats, despite the fact that the zipline design is very dangerous and is a massive liability if it was in a real park, in that it doesn't have any real seat or seat belts or straps or anything like that. You're quite literally just sitting on a little bit of a structure and holding on with your hands. It's Camp Cretaceous styled, so it makes sense that they went with that style, but still, I mean, absolutely very dangerous. Not to say that like the gyrosphere is any less dangerous, because as you've seen in the movies, the dinosaurs make quick work of those, but still, I was very surprised at the design and the fact that people just kind of hang on and, you know, aren't gonna fall off or get eaten by a dinosaur. So, but anyway, I'll be adding that in hopefully the next episode. And as far as dinosaur or animals go, I want to add another habitat or land animal, but I'm not quite sure. We did add a few big carnivores, but I'm wondering if it isn't time for like a big guy. Like, do we add the T-Rex or the Indominus Rex or something like a big ticket item, if you know what I mean? Like something big that people like come to the park to see. Is what I'm thinking. So let me know in the comment section down below again what you think might be cool. I didn't want to add any of those big ticket items like right in the front of the park, but now I feel like we have built enough that I could, you know, potentially put together a T-Rex habitat where people would have to kind of walk a bit to get to it and kind of go through the park. Or do we do like a water base? Like, do we do a Mosasaurus something or other, you know, little area? I'm totally up in the air, not quite sure. I potentially will wait to see if the DLC comes in the next like month or so, because if you're watching this when the video goes live, it's about halfway through November. So I'm crossing my fingers that we hear something in the next like few weeks, to be honest. So I may potentially wait to see if we're going to get any new dinosaurs, to see if I can throw those guys in the park, but we will see. We're adding some detail to the aviary, lots of rocks. I tried to add some height variant in here as well, and then those little perch platforms are actually pretty cool. I like that the animals interact with those. The flyers go up and perch on them. I think, again, it gives a good height variation, but just something different in the habitat, so it's not just trees and rocks. Again, I find myself kind of struggling in order to stop the park from being so repetitive, just because of the limited decoration items that we have, or limited attractions that we have, and then the sheer size of what parks end up being because they're so big. But over here I go ahead and add food and drink as well, and then lots more tables and chairs, so this could kind of be like a rest station for guests. And something that I just realized I haven't actually added in the park yet, or maybe I added it in the front. Did I add a hotel yet? Because that's another thing. I kind of wanted to make like a little guest, you know what, I'm pretty sure that I did, but maybe we do one a little bit further in the park and do like kind of like a guest resort area, where that would be, you know, the high ticket hotel resort, where you like have an overview of the T-Rex or of our lagoon or something like that, where it's like deep into the park and you really get immersed in the park itself. Is what I'm potentially thinking. And then we did already add the gyrosphere, but the zipline is going to be next. And then I do feel like I need to add more monorail stations as well. We only have a couple monorail stations, but I feel like they're really spread apart, and guests are going to be getting like a lot of exercise walking around this park, because it's already stretched pretty far and there's not too many stations here or there. So yeah, just different ideas areas for the park itself. You can see here as I'm lining up this path, I am trying my best to rotate and alter these planters, just again to avoid that tiling look to it. And I'm pretty happy with how this came out. I tried to add lots of pathing options. So like there's not just one way to get somewhere. So there's multiple different little sections. The very last thing that we have to do is kind of decorate the viewing areas for the lagoon on the other side. But really this was actually a bigger section of the park. It's kind of more building than I've done all in one sitting, at least in the other episodes as well, and a lot more detailing, I feel like. Please ignore the fact that those are Spinosauruses and pretend that they're like Styxosauruses or something like that. Again, going back to my point, I really wish that we had different models and things like that, but I really wanted to use them because I actually really like that piece. It's such a cool piece, and it framed that entry really, really well. But yeah, just ignore the fact that it's not a Styxosaurus, it's a Spinosaurus. So wrong animal, but you guys get the point. Lots of rocks and trees because, again, this being like a Yosemite, California-based park, I'm trying my very best to keep it very forested. Again, keeping the idea that the park owners kind of built around the terrain and around the foliage and tried their very best. I mean, obviously they had to rip out a whole bunch of stuff, not only just for like the lagoon, but some of the aviaries and for the monorail and all that kind of stuff. They had to rip out a lot of the forest, but where they could, I envisioned that they really tried to keep it as not overgrown, but as forested as possible. So you can see here, I go back and in the areas where the paintbrush wouldn't paint any trees for me, I go back and place the individual single trees, and that way it still maintains some of that height and some of that forested kind of feel. Of course, throwing some bathrooms, and I think I got an emergency shelter in here, or maybe I didn't. I don't actually remember. But we are just about finishing up. This was the very last little section that I had to do, and then we're going to jump in. There is some B-roll, some cinematics, whatever you want to call them. I'm just going to show off the layout and what we did. So let me know what you guys think. As always, I really appreciate you guys watching, and if it's your first time here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. I cover games like Jurassic World Evolution 2, obviously, as you're watching here, but also Planet Zoo, Prehistoric Kingdom, basically creative style building games, most of which involve animals because I'm an animal person. So thank you guys so much for being here. If you enjoyed, leave a like down below. It greatly helps me out, and I sure do appreciate you. Leave a comment, let me know what you thought, and of course, again, hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on all my social media profiles. All those fun links are down in the description below. And until next time, I hope you enjoy these end shots, and I will talk at you in the next video. Bye!